My journey started on July 20th, 2019. I started off wanting to use Blender to put visual effects in small short films that I had made, but having no knowledge of Blender or visual effects in general, I expected to just be able to easily make Hollywood quality effects. After messing with Blender, I realized that what I originally wanted was not going to happen, and things would be a lot harder than I thought. But then I discovered an interest in animation. I went to YouTube and found a tutorial on rigid body simulations from Blender Guru. I had a tough time because it was my first time using the program, but I pulled through and made my first animation. My success with rigid bodies and fascination with simulations led me to another tutorial for making cloth simulations. From what I remember, this was actually fairly easy, and I learned a lot from it as well. Now that I had a very basic understanding of Blender, I finally tried visual effects. I had a lot of problems making this, and it didn't turn out great, but I was happy that I managed to figure it out. I learned about keyframes and made this little animation of a creeper walking. This was my first still image. The alien's name is Ned, and I was planning on making a short film for him, but I found out about rigging, and it never happened because I did not know what I was doing. Going back to animation, I made my first character animation. I didn't rig these characters, all I did was put empties in between the joints and rotated the limbs around the empties, and it looks kinda jank, and for some reason I applied smooth shading to all of the objects, which makes it look really wrong. I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's a minute long, but I'm very proud of how this turned out. I was still very new to Blender, and this animation was a huge milestone for me. It was my first complete short film. Like any other Blender user, I followed the donut tutorial, but mine did not turn out so great, and looking back, I honestly have no idea what I was even doing. This was my attempt at making grass. This render is very important in my progression because it was the first time I'd ever used any kind of texture displacement. I watched a tutorial on how to make neon signs from pictures, so I made this scene which I named Downtown Japan. This isn't the best example of it, but this render really shows my issue with scaling things correctly. I made this for Halloween. The hand was downloaded, which was the first time I actually ever downloaded a model, but I had to zombify the hand myself. There is nothing special about this one, I just like jellyfish. Now here is the best example on how much bad scaling affects a scene. The mountains look like they should neither be big and grand or small either. The house and car are basically the same size and very large compared to the mountains. My first render of 2020 was pretty basic, and I didn't make any big changes with this one. This scene was when I really started messing with PBR materials and nodes, which is how I made the imperfections on the walls. I saw a lot of vaporwave art recently and was inspired by it to make these two neon statue images. I'm not really sure what is going on in this picture, but I made the fish by following Ian Hubert's fish tutorial. Here's something else that I seriously couldn't tell you what is going on. I think I just wanted to show off the car model. This render was a big deal for me. I made the astronaut completely from scratch, and it wasn't great, but most importantly, it wasn't awful. Using the skeleton model from my last project, I made this picture, and to add some spice to it, I put a laser through its head. After not making any animations for a while, I had a plan to make a full short film out of this, but I got discouraged and scrapped the project. This scene is another example of one of my problems. It's that instead of building out a scene and following a composition, I instead put models around the camera as if I was just trying to display the models. I wasn't making an art piece, I was just showing off objects. Yet another animation project that I never finished. I was going to make a short film, but I got too ambitious with my storyline and got discouraged because I knew that I would not be able to create what I had envisioned. Halfway through the year, I began to change directions with my art. I had gone from wanting to do visual effects to then doing animation and making random still images. Now I had started to find what I really wanted to do, which was concept art and building scenes, worlds, and stories with a single image. I started off this transition by making this Google brain-sucking machine. Weird, I know, but I really learned a lot from this, and I used several new techniques like making procedural materials. Next, I created the scene of a stormtrooper in a subway station, but as the sign on the left suggests, he is headed to Comic-Con. At the time, I thought this picture had the best texturing I had ever done. I used transparent images and laid them over the walls to get the cracks and the grunge. I also photo scanned the spilled trash can, which was the first time I'd ever photo scanned anything. Now that I had the ability to bring the real world into my pictures, I photo scanned my jack-o'-lantern that I carved for Halloween and made a scarecrow out of it. One of my favorite movies is Back to the Future 2, so I recreated the hydrator from the movie. All of the rocks in this image are rocks I photo scanned in our yard. I like this picture, but the fire kind of throws it off, especially since it's kind of what your eye immediately goes to first, and it just doesn't look right. This is rooftop transit, which is basically just a train that goes over a large city. Starting off 2021, I made this alleyway, with the main focus of the scene being the cat, which is actually just a picture of my cat that I cut out. During February, we had a lot of snow, more snow than I've ever seen, and it inspired me to make this picture involving snow. I used the Blender Snow Generator add-on, and it looks kind of goopy, but it gets the point across. I'd never really done a large nature scene before, so I attempted it here, and it was the first time for a lot of things. I had decent grass, I made volumetric clouds, I even put birds in with editing. I think the birds really helped show the scale of the mountains. Now we come to my masterpiece of animation. It is kind of based off the old meme of the green suited guy dancing, and I use Mixamo animations and just put together this fun video. It's actually on my channel, so go check it out after this video. I'd never really sculpted a face before, so I made the Joker so that I could really exaggerate all the features. Again, using Mixamo animations and characters, I put together this fight scene. But what's special about this is I used an app on my phone called Virtual Camera. It links to your Blender camera, and you hit record. As you move your phone, it moves the 3D scene camera, so you get realistic camera movements. I wanted to mess around with the Virtual Camera app some more, so I made this animation. And it was fun to work on because I was actually running across my room chasing this dude to get all the camera movements. There's this certain feeling I get when going places very early in the morning, just seeing the world wake up. This scene kind of captivates that feeling. After more than a month of being uninspired and not working on anything, I had a dream. That dream had this exact scene, and as soon as I woke up that morning, I started working on bringing it to life. Another one of my favorite movies is the Planet of the Apes trilogy, so I made this art based off of it. I think that the apes on horses is so cool, especially with the Western theme. And now we make it to the end of July, where I started working on a collection of images that kind of tell a story of somebody on a foreign planet searching for something. This collection is called Voyager, and the final render in this collection is probably one of my best and favorite works I've ever done. At the time of making this video, it is August 5th. In the span of 2 years and 15 days, I've come so far, and I would never thought that I would be able to do what I can do now, and I'm only getting better. I can't wait to see what there is to come and what I'll be doing 2 years from now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and maybe consider subscribing. Hope you have a great day. Bye.